Picture this: a dusty Ohio farm in the 1940s, a young boy strumming a makeshift guitar cobbled together from a coffee can and screen door wires, dreaming of a life beyond the fields. That boy was Bobby Bare, a name that would one day echo through the honky-tonks and radio waves of country music. But somewhere along the line, the world seemed to forget him. A man once called the Springsteen of country, a rebel who reshaped Nashville's rules and gave voice to the underdog. So, what happened to Bobby Bare, country's forgotten outlaw? Let's pull back the curtain on a life as raw and real as the songs he sang, a story of triumphs, heartbreaks, and a quiet defiance that still resonates today. To understand Bobby Bare, you've got to step into the world that shaped him. Born in 1935 in Ironton, Ohio, a gritty river town hugging the Kentucky border, Bare grew up in a time when the Great Depression's shadow still lingered. Rural America was tough, families scraped by, and dreams were often just whispers drowned out by the grind of survival. Bobby's early life was no exception. His mother died when he was 5, a wound that never fully healed. His father, overwhelmed and unable to care for 3 young children, made the heart-wrenching choice to split them up. Bobby's younger sister was adopted, his older sister sent to relatives, and Bobby stayed with his dad on a farm where poverty was a constant companion. Music became his escape, his way of making sense of a fractured world. He'd listen to the Grand Ole Opry on a crackling radio, soaking in the twang of Hank Williams and the big band swing of the era. That coffee can guitar, it was more than a toy. It was a lifeline, a spark of imagination in a boy who refused to let his circumstances define him. By his teens, Bobby was restless. He didn't get along with his stepmother, so he left home, bouncing between relatives and odd jobs. He formed a band, playing local radio shows in Springfield, Ohio, his voice already carrying a soulful grit that belied his age. In 1953, at just 18, he hitchhiked to California, chasing a bigger stage. There, he met steel guitarist Speedy West, who saw something special in the lanky kid with a homemade swagger. West helped Bare land a songwriting deal with Opal Music and a brief stint recording rockabilly for Capitol Records. But success was elusive. His early singles flopped, and just as he was gaining traction, the draft called. Right before shipping out to the Army, Bobby recorded a demo of a song he wrote called The All-American Boy for his friend Bill Parsons. In a twist of fate, or a cruel clerical error, Fraternity Records released Bobby's raw demo, not Parsons' polished version, and it climbed to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1958. The catch? The label credited Bill Parsons as the artist. Bobby, stuck in boot camp, watched his first big break slip through his fingers, a bitter lesson in the music industry's ruthlessness. After the Army, Bobby could have chased pop stardom in Los Angeles, where he gigged with the likes of Bobby Darin and Jan and Dean. But his heart was in country, in the raw honesty of songs that told real stories. He headed to Nashville in the early 1960s, a town ruled by the polished Nashville sound and producers like Chet Atkins, who signed Bobby to RCA Victor. Atkins saw potential in Bare's laconic voice, a blend of wry wit and aching sincerity. Bobby's first single, Shame on Me, hit the charts in 1962, followed by Detroit City in 1963, a haunting tale of a homesick factory worker that reached number 6 on the country charts and cracked the pop top 20. It earned him a Grammy for Best Country and Western Recording, a rare feat for a newcomer. Songs like 500 Miles Away from Home and 4 Strong Winds followed, each one a masterclass in storytelling delivered with a voice that felt like a friend confessing over a late-night whiskey. But Bobby wasn't content to be just another Nashville crooner. He was a rebel in a town that prized conformity. In the 1960s, artists had little control. Producers picked the songs, the band, even the arrangements. Bobby pushed back. He wanted to choose his own material, work with his own musicians, and tell stories that mattered. He gravitated towards songwriters like Tom T. Hall, Chris Christopherson, and Shel Silverstein, whose quirky, poetic lyrics didn't fit Nashville's mold. One little-known moment captures his defiance. In 1964, while hanging out in Phoenix, Bobby saw a young Waylon Jennings perform at a club. Mesmerized by Waylon's raw energy, Bobby marched into Chet Atkins's office and declared, "Chet, I've just seen Waylon. He's the best thing since Elvis." Bobby's endorsement helped get Waylon signed to RCA, planting a seed for the outlaw country movement that would shake Nashville a decade later. It's a story Waylon himself recounted in his autobiography, a quiet act of loyalty that Bear rarely bragged about. Bobby's friendship with Shel Silverstein became a cornerstone of his career and his life. Silverstein, the eccentric poet and cartoonist behind children's books like The Giving Tree, had a knack for writing songs that were equal parts whimsical and profound. Bobby saw genius in Shel's work when others dismissed it as too weird for country. In 1973, Bobby returned to RCA and produced his own album, Lullabies, Legends, and Lies, a double LP of Silverstein songs that's now considered one of the first country concept albums. It was a bold move. Nashville wasn't ready for an album that mixed tall tales, tender ballads, and offbeat humor. The gamble paid off. The album's standout track, Marie Laveau, a spooky, swampy ode to a voodoo queen, became Bobby's only #1 hit. Another song, Daddy What If, a duet with his 5-year-old son, Bobby Bear Jr., hit #2 and earned a Grammy nomination. The recording session was pure magic. Little Bobby's voice cracked with innocence as he asked, "Daddy, what if I said I love you?" Bear later said he fought back tears in the studio, knowing the moment was unrehearsable, a snapshot of a father and son bound by music and love. That duet wasn't just a hit, it was a glimpse into Bobby's soul. Despite his tough exterior, he was a family man who carried the pain of his own fractured childhood. He once told an interviewer, "My mother died when I was 5, and my dad couldn't keep us together. I swore I'd never let my kids feel that kind of loss." Bobby Jr. grew up watching his father navigate fame, and their bond deepened through music. In 1975, the whole Bear family, Bobby, his wife Jeannie, and their kids, recorded Singin' in the Kitchen, another Silverstein-penned album that captured the chaotic joy of their household. It was nominated for a Grammy, but Bobby, ever the contrarian, declined the nomination, saying, "I don't want to compete with my friends." It's a rare anecdote that reveals his disdain for industry politics, a trait that both defined and limited his career. Bobby's outlaw spirit wasn't just about music, it was about living authentically. He was a key figure in Nashville's Hillbilly Central, a loose collective of artists like Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson, who gathered at Bear's office or the Burger Boy Diner, playing pinball and swapping songs. Bobby's office became a haven, complete with 3 pinball machines he installed to keep his friends entertained. He later laughed, "The quarters from those machines paid my rent." It was here, in the early 1970s, that the outlaw country movement took shape. Bobby's 1973 album, Ride Me Down Easy, which he self-produced, set a precedent for artists demanding creative control. He banned session musicians from his recordings, insisting on his own band, and handpicked songs from renegade writers like Billy Joe Shaver. Critics called it a rebellion. Bobby called it common sense. "Why should someone else tell me how my song should sound?" he said in a 1984 interview, a quote that's rarely cited but sums up his ethos. Yet Bobby's defiance came at a cost. By the late 1970s, Nashville was changing. The outlaw movement had been co-opted by slicker acts, and Bobby's quirky, unpolished style didn't fit the new mainstream. He moved to Columbia Records in 1978, releasing Bear, an album that paired him again with Silverstein and featured guest vocals from Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings. Tracks like This Guitar is for Sale, a heart-wrenching ballad about a musician selling his instrument to survive, showed Bobby at his most vulnerable. But the album didn't chart as expected, and by the early 1980s, Bobby was growing frustrated. His 1980 album, Down and Dirty, was a raucous live-in-the-studio gem with songs like Tequila Sheila and Numbers, but it flew under the radar. A lesser-known story from this period, during a European tour, Bobby met Marianne Faithfull, who sang Silverstein's The Ballad of Lucy Jordan. Stunned to learn Shell wrote it, Bobby cut his own version, a soulful take that never got the attention it deserved. It's a hidden gem in his discography, a testament to his knack for finding beauty in unexpected places. The mid-1980s marked a turning point, and a controversy that's rarely discussed. Bobby was recording a new album for Capitol Records when the label began meddling, demanding glossier production and more commercial songs. Bobby, fed up, walked away. I told him I was done, he later recalled in a 2007 Houston Chronicle interview. I went fishing. It wasn't just a quip. Bobby retreated to his farm outside Nashville, trading the spotlight for smallmouth bass and solitude. Some saw it as a principled stand against a soulless industry. Others whispered he'd burned out, unable to adapt to country's pop-infused direction. The truth likely lies in between. Bobby was tired of fighting for creative control, and the loss of friends like Silverstein, who died unexpectedly in 1999, hit him hard. Shell was the only one who took care of himself, Bobby said, his voice breaking in a rare 2000s interview. I wasn't ready for him to go. The grief was palpable, a private pain that fueled his retreat. From 1983 to 1988, Bobby hosted Bobby Bear and Friends on the Nashville Network, a show that captured his gift for storytelling. He interviewed legends like Johnny Cash, Emmylou Harris, and John Prine in a casual guitar-pulling format, letting songwriters share their craft. It was a hit, showcasing Bobby's warmth and curiosity, but it also kept him off the charts. By the time he signed with EMI America in 1985, his singles barely cracked the top 40. In 1998, he formed Old Dogs with Waylon Jennings, Jerry Reed, and Mel Tillis, a band that poked fun at aging with songs like I'd Rather Be an Old Dog Than a Young Pup. It was a brief, joyful return, but Waylon's death in 2002 left Bobby as the last surviving member, another loss in a life marked by them. Bobby's retirement wasn't the end. In 2005, his son Bobby Jr., now a respected alt-country artist, coaxed him back to the studio for The Moon Was Blue, a lush, modern country album that blended Bear's classic sound with indie rock flourishes. It was a critical success, proof that Bobby's voice still carried weight. In 2012, he released Darker Than Light, recorded at RCA Studio B with a band that included Buddy Miller. His 2017 album Things Change featured a duet with Chris Stapleton on Detroit City, a full-circle moment that introduced Bobby to a new generation. He still performed occasionally, often joining Bobby Jr. on stage, their father-son chemistry as poignant as ever. A rare quote from Bobby Jr. captures their bond. Dad never pushed me into music, but he showed me how to live it. Honest, no bullshit. So why does Bobby Bear matter today? He wasn't just a singer. He was a trailblazer who fought for artists' rights before it was fashionable. His battle for creative control paved the way for the outlaw movement, influencing everyone from Waylon and Willie to modern rebels like Sturgill Simpson. His songs, with their vivid characters and unflinching honesty, remind us that country music is about real people, not just radio hits. Emotionally, Bobby's story is a mirror to our own struggles, losing loved ones, chasing dreams, and finding peace in life's quiet moments. Culturally, he's a bridge between Nashville's past and its present, a reminder that authenticity can outlast trends. His 2013 induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame was long overdue, but Bobby, true to form, downplayed it. I'm just glad they didn't wait till I was dead. The controversies around Bobby, his retreat from Nashville, his refusal to play the industry game, sparked debate. Was he a visionary who stayed true to himself, or a stubborn artist who let pride derail his career? Fans argue he was ahead of his time, a proto-outlaw whose influence is undervalued. Critics say he lacked the ambition to capitalize on his talent, unlike peers like Johnny Cash. The truth, as always, is messier. Bobby was human, shaped by loss and loyalty, driven by a need to create on his own terms, even if it meant fading from the spotlight. As we close, let's linger on Bobby Bare, the man who turned pain into poetry, who built a guitar from scraps and a career from grit. His life reminds us that the greatest rebels don't always carry a flag, they just live their truth, quietly, stubbornly, beautifully. Bobby's still out there casting lines and singing when the mood strikes, a forgotten outlaw whose songs still hum in the hearts of those who listen. So next time you hear Detroit City or Marie Laveau, pause and think of the boy from Ironton, Ohio, who dared to dream beyond the farm. His story isn't just history, it's a call to live authentically, no matter the cost.